Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're unpacking how the wildly popular animated series Omar and Hana masterfully translates some pretty complex ethical, environmental, and religious concepts into these highly digestible, fun lessons for young minds. It's a really fascinating case study in educational media. We're going to analyze the exact blueprint this show uses to shape the character and worldview of its young viewers, drawing directly from the source material to see exactly how it tackles some remarkably mature themes. Now, it's a universal struggle for caregivers, isn't it? Especially when you're dealing with that classic monkey see, monkey do tantrum at the mall. The show actually tackles a highly relatable scenario where the character Hana watches another child throw a massive fit to get what they want. So what does she do? She decides to deploy that exact same strategy to demand donuts and an absurd amount of ice cream. It forces us to stop and ask, how do we actually correct this behavior effectively without just, giving in? To digest all of this, we're going to break down the show's educational framework into four distinct pillars. 1. Building good character. 2. Lessons from Islamic history. 3. Compassion for all creations. And 4. Navigating modern parenting.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, building good character.
When dealing with toddlers fighting over toys or demanding those mall donuts, the show doesn't just say, be good. It outlines a highly practical, four-step timeout procedure. First, you remove the kids from the situation so they can calm down. Second, and this is absolutely crucial, maintain consistency despite their protests. Third, clearly explain the consequences. And finally, facilitate a genuine apology and forgiveness. It's a remarkably structured, actionable approach to emotional regulation. The show also introduces this brilliant concept called Huznazan. In one episode, the kids spot a man with a spade looking around their garden. Well, naturally, they immediately assume he's a bad guy and literally build elaborate traps to catch him. But it turns out it's just Mr. Anil, a friendly plumber who's just there to fix a leak. The show uses this misunderstanding to teach kids Huznazan, the practice of having good thoughts, seeking the facts, and giving people the benefit of the doubt, rather than just jumping to wild negative conclusions. It's so clever how the series juxtaposes negative behaviors with really clear moral corrections. They build this compelling narrative for honesty and patience. For example, when the kids are fighting over a T-Rex and some superhero toys, the lesson isn't simply don't fight. Instead, it's reframed as true strength is being patient when you're mad. When they cheat at a marble game, the correction is all about owning up and facing the consequences. And incredibly, when they start watering down fruit juice with ice to try and make more money at their lemonade stand, the show pivots to teach them about honest business practices and trustworthy trade. Okay, moving right along to Section 2, Lessons from Islamic History. By retelling the story of the tiny sparrow, ancient history becomes incredibly accessible and honestly super inspiring to modern toddlers. The story goes that when Prophet Ibrahim is trapped in a massive fire by a tyrant, King Namud, a tiny sparrow takes droplets of water in its beak to help put it out. When the bird is mocked for being way too small to actually make a difference, the sparrow proves that it's really about pure intention. It's about trying your absolute best, knowing the creator sees the effort. What a powerful metaphor for kids, right? You don't have to be the biggest or strongest to do the right thing. Similarly, the miraculous event of Prophet Musa splitting the sea on Ashura is broken down to instill this deep sense of faith and historical grounding. The tension builds so brilliantly. You have the intense chase by Pharaoh's army, the sudden panic from his followers as they hit the seemingly impassable shore, the definitive striking of the stick on the ground, and then finally the miraculous escape as the sea actually splits into two. The show connects these ancient narratives right back to the present day, explaining why certain days are celebrated or why believers fast. It perfectly bridges the gap between grand history and a child's daily routine. Let's zoom out a bit for Section 3, Compassion for All Creations. Using a clever storytelling within storytelling technique, the source material uses the anecdote of Prophet Muhammad and the deer to prove that true strength really means putting the needs of others first. In the show, the characters learn how the prophet encountered a trapped tethered deer, freed her so she could return to feed her babies, and completely trusted her promise to return. It teaches kids that compassion isn't just reserved for family and friends, it absolutely extends to the most vulnerable creatures around us. This perfectly sets up the vital lesson that earthly destruction is a direct result of human actions. And, the show doesn't shy away from reality here. In one episode, the characters go hiking and they encounter irresponsible people who disturb a bird's nest and then accidentally start a forest fire while cooking. The series explicitly frames environmental protection not just as a nice idea, but as a direct religious duty to act as protectors of nature and all its creatures. Get this, the creators even tackle the highly complex concept of recycling e-waste for 5-year-olds. They explain that throwing away electronics leaks toxic chemicals into the water supply, but recycling saves valuable precious metals like gold, silver, and copper. It actively preserves the Earth's natural resources and stops excessive mining. It is truly remarkable to see this level of environmental science translated so effectively and simply in a preschool show. So instead of just throwing out Grandpa's broken TV, the show gives parents and kids exact, actionable steps to responsibly handle electronic waste. Step 1, donate devices that are still usable. Step 2, repair devices that are still fixable. And Step 3, only send truly broken e-waste to registered recycling centers. In the story, the kids learn that everything we own will ultimately be questioned, how we got it and how we used it. So acting responsibly with our resources is deeply tied to their overall moral framework. And finally, that brings us to Section 4, Navigating Modern Parenting. We really have to ask ourselves this vital question: what actually happens when your child is glued to a screen, especially when devices become a substitute for active parenting? The source material features this very real episode, where parents call into a live show with a mufti, an Islamic scholar, and they're desperately asking for advice about their 5-year-old son who refuses to eat or sleep because he is completely addicted to a mobile phone. The sources present a very clear, unflinching list of warning signs for gadget addiction. Things like a preference to be alone with the gadget rather than family, eating less, erratic sleeping patterns, avoiding eye contact when speaking, and becoming emotionally unstable, easily bored, or irritable. There are even physical issues mentioned, like eye and neck pain. The show boldly reminds us that the root of this problem often starts with the parents themselves, by pandering to children and handing over screens without setting proper limits. There's this profound Islamic teaching mentioned: verily, in the body is a piece of flesh, which if sound, the entire body is sound, and if corrupt, the entire body is corrupt. Truly it is the heart. This brilliantly illustrates how tools like social media and gadgets are ultimately neutral. It's the condition of the user's heart that dictates whether the impact is good or bad. If the device is used for gaining knowledge, it's beneficial. If used poorly, it's a detriment. It places the moral weight entirely on human agency. Empowering parents to take control of screen time, they share another powerful quote: "Allah will never change the condition of a people until they change it themselves." This serves as a strong reminder that overcoming these modern tests requires proactive change. You can't simply hope a gadget addiction will just vanish. The show insists that families have to actively intervene, endure the tantrums, and reclaim their children's attention through dedicated effort. And this brings us to a staggering scale. To put this into perspective, according to the creators of the show, there are roughly 400 million Muslim children currently exposed to the dangers of unfiltered media out there on the wild, unregulated internet. 400 million. That is a massive demographic facing the exact behavioral and spiritual risks we've just been talking about. To solve this exact parenting dilemma, the 70-person team behind Omar and Hana created Durio Plus. It's a curated, safe streaming platform. They recognized that parents wanted the high-quality entertainment of mainstream media, but safely tucked away from the ugly side of the web. So they filter everything to ensure that all the content, licensed and original, aligns with faith, knowledge, and good character, offering a real, practical solution to the screen time anxiety they highlighted in their own episodes. The blueprint we've analyzed today shows that every single interaction, from sharing toys to managing an iPad, is a prime opportunity to build conscientious, compassionate humans. So, as you navigate the many challenges of raising children today, how will you shape your child's media environment before it shapes them?